And joining us now is Senator Rand Paul from the state of Kentucky. Senator Paul, we're winding down on the first full week of the Senate impeachment trial. A lot of reporting suggests the impeachment managers have presented an effective case, a point reiterated even by a few of your Republican colleagues. Your response, Senator Paul, to their presentation so far, notwithstanding your objections based on the question of constitutionality?
You know, I think the case that the violence that happened on January 6th was abhorrent and that the people who committed it should be punished. Sure, they've done a good job of that, but they've also admitted that the president's words did not incite the crowd. Interestingly, one of the House managers, Cicilline, on the first day of the trial, he stood up and said, the president's words are not why we're convicting him or impeaching him. They said it because he promoted this big lie that the election was stolen. But interestingly, the lead House manager stood up in 2017 and said Trump stole the election, and he voted not to seat the electors from Florida. So, you know, hypocrisy and this idea of a double standard just doesn't look well. I don't think this is good for the country. It's in no way unifying, and I think it just furthers the bitterness and rancor of the election. So I think this is a huge mistake by the Democrats.
Talking about words matter, you highlighted the fact that Democrats also used the word fight in the past. And as you just mentioned, Congressman Raskin challenged the certification of President Trump's electoral win in 2016. You're getting some pushback, of course, from the media. In your mind, why do you believe these are the same?
Well, the thing is you have to look at the actual words. What did the president say? He said, go fight that your voices be heard. And he said, march peacefully and patriotically. How can you twist that into words that incite violence? But I can give you Chuck Schumer's words when he stood in front of a mob in front of the Supreme Court and he said, Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, you've unleashed the whirlwind and you will pay the price and you won't know what hit you if you don't quit these awful decisions. That sounds very physical. It sounds intimidating. And there's actually no way you can fight or hit back to the Supreme Court other than physical because we don't elect them. Once they're appointed, they're there for life. So what were his words intending? But immediately after Schumer spoke those words, the mob charged the door of the Supreme Court and tried to tear it down. They stood on top of statues. They were confronting and belligerent. They threw stuff at the Supreme Court justices' cars, all after Schumer spoke. So if we're going to judge political speech on the actual words, let's use one standard. And I think Democrats would find if they look in the mirror, they've been guilty of much more than they're accusing Trump of.
Senator Paul, Bloomberg is reporting that Leader McConnell told your conference to vote your conscience and that he might be undecided on conviction or acquittal. What's your read of the room?
All we need is 34 to acquit. So I think they're nowhere close convincing anybody. And in fact, I think we could get back the one we lost even maybe in the end. So there'll be 44, 45 people to acquit. It'll be a largely partisan exercise. It will have destroyed any possible unifying concept that President Biden may have wished for, but it was his own doing. He could have easily been a statesman and moved forward. His numbers from independents would have gone up 20 points if he had said this isn't the right thing to do. We need to let this be part of our past.
It is a high threshold to have the 67 votes, which likely will not happen. So, Senator Paul, where does the Republican Party go from here? Should President Trump be the leader of the Republican Party?
You know, when I first ran for office, I said that political parties are an empty vessel unless you imbue them with values. So political parties always are the people who are running for office and trying to decide what the party is. I'm a Republican because I believe in limited government, the Constitution. I believe in the right to life. I believe that the best economy that helps the most people who are in need is capitalism, low taxes, limited regulation. And that's what I think of the Republican Party. And many times President Trump was on the right side of those issues, and sometimes he wasn't. So I supported him when I thought he was right, and I opposed him when he was wrong. I opposed him on not certifying the electors. I did vote to certify the electors, even though I do think fraud occurred in the election and needs to be addressed. I opposed some of his emergency powers on moving money around that Congress hadn't given him. I opposed selling weapons to Saudi Arabia because I didn't like the war in Yemen. But I also supported the fact that he appointed conservative pro-life judges to the court. And I supported him overall in the sense that reducing taxes and regulation were good for the economy. On spending, I thought he spent too much money, and I thought it was crazy to give free money of $2,000 to everybody, and I opposed that. So really, I've been who I've always been, and I'm a part of the Republican Party. I'm not the Republican Party, but I think we should be a conservative party of balanced budgets. And that's actually a minority position within the caucus, but that's who I am and who I'll always be.
I want to hone in on the part of money and spending, switching gears here a little bit. The President Biden, is pushing a nearly $2 trillion COVID relief plan. What do you make of the high cost of the plan?
Well, we don't have any money. We have no rainy day account, no savings account. We have a printing press. We have the Federal Reserve, so we can print up money. But, if they want to give $2,000 once, why not $2,000 a month? And some on the left, the socialists, say, yes, that's what we want. We want to do $2,000 a month. But it's like, really? Are there no ramifications to borrowing so much money? We borrowed $4 trillion already to try to rescue an economy that was largely shut down by government edict. So I think the choices are not more money versus less money. I think the choices are open the economy or not opening the economy. And so I advocate helping restaurants by getting rid of the edicts, helping movie theaters, bowling alleys, et cetera, by getting rid of the edicts and letting local communities and businesses make the decisions on what type of risks they're willing to take and what type of precautions they'd like to take.
I want to give you an opportunity here to plug the 3-penny plan Balanced Budget Act. What would that do?
Well, for years, Republicans have said they're for a balanced budget. A few years ago, Mike Lee and I and others put forward a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, and every Republican voted for it, but it balanced in 5 years. So I think the gold standard for a serious balanced budget has to balance in 5 years. So a few years ago, I had a budget freeze, and it balanced in 5 years. But then they kept spending, both Republicans and Democrats. So then we introduced the penny plan, where we'd cut 1% from last year's budget, and we do that each year for 5 years, and it would balance. Then it became the 2-penny plan, and then this year it's the 3-penny plan. And the reason it becomes harder to balance the budget is because Republicans and Democrats continue to blow through limits and add money that we don't have. But now my budget that I introduced, I got 29 Republicans to vote for it, 21 against, and no Democrats for it, would cut 3% each year for 5 years, but it would balance. And then we would become a strong nation again and begin running surpluses after 5 years. I think we then could fix our roads and bridges and take care of our people. And in order to do that, you have to quit sending your money overseas. So I'm against foreign aid for foreign countries. I'm against welfare for foreign countries. I forced that vote recently, though, and only got 8 Republicans to support me, or 7 other, 8 of us total. So I think if you ask the people, do you want to keep spending money overseas, or would you rather balance our budget and fix our roads? I think the people are with me, but we don't have enough votes yet here in Washington. So frankly, some of them need to go home, Republican and Democrat.
Senator Rand Paul, thank you so much for making time for us today.
Thank you.